This is the AGM. It's a general meeting. Ideally, annual. And so perhaps from now on we could really determine to have an annual meeting, meaning every year. But anyway, it's really an important time. I know that over the last several months, we've had this merger committee, and for many people wondering, what are we doing? So this is the chance to try to just explain what we're doing and what we hope that will emerge out of the efforts over the past year. So in fact, it was almost exactly a year ago that Dr. Balcom wrote this letter, September 14th, in fact, in 2021, recommending that we should restructure. And that was really the beginning of thinking about those ideas. And then we had a Council of Communities meeting in November last year, where we tried to put flesh onto that proposal. And that was really the beginning of the changes that we're dealing with right now. And in a way, I think, coming to a conclusion right now that we can move on. I thought I'd just read the letter that Dr. Balcom wrote just after the Council of Communities meeting. He said, as explained in my letter of September 14th, in order to enable the FFWPU to fulfill its role for the future generations to support and multiply blessed families across the UK, the way we structure our organisation in the UK has to change. Change can be challenging as well as exciting through opening new opportunities and possibilities. We took time to consider the ways to make these changes and to understand the thoughts, hopes and frustrations of members last weekend through the Council of Communities meeting in Derbyshire, about which a full report has already been sent to those who participated. There are many factors to take into consideration, requiring the close cooperation of the national headquarter roles, pastors, community committees and members. We must take account of the input we have received from the Charity Commission, our auditors and accountants, as well as the huge and valued contributions of time, money and passion by members throughout the country. When I wrote the first letter in September, I made it clear that these developments would involve a change in the number of pastors and had hoped that this would be started by mid-October. In that sense, changes are already overdue, but I admit that one cannot rush such significant steps without proper consultation and discussion. I'm therefore extending that time by asking all current pastors to offer themselves for re-election, both in accordance with the constitutional guidelines of the governance document and in the framework of a new configuration of community groups before the end of January 2022. Some communities have already met with their local committees and are discussing what next steps to take. A lot of communication will be necessary, and so I'm asking each group of communities to form an amalgamation working party to take charge of this process within the next few weeks. Each of the communities and members have different abilities, characters and history, and so I hope you'll see this as an opportunity to combine your strengths to serve the purpose that God and true parents have called you to. Each community has something different to contribute to the bigger whole. So that was the beginning, and that's when we initiated the idea of making an amalgamation committee. It emerged over the next month or so after that. I think it was Jeff that entitled it The Great Merger. And so Central London, East London, and East Anglia, and North London communities tried to come together and tried to think out what was going to happen next. And that's really what I want to give you a sense of just in the few minutes just now. So, at the same time, we think this time last year, we were just emerging from pandemic lockdowns and so on. We were just beginning to get back to in-person services, as if that was a sort of strange thing to actually meet people. But at the same time, we got used to doing Zoom services, and so then we were trying to find ways of keeping the benefits of both. And so we continued having services in 3 locations and doing hybrid services and live streaming. So it's been a major time of transition. So we came to that end of January, and the pastors, Jeff and Francis, stepped down. AJ stepped back as chair here in central London, and but a lot of things were very vague, and we had a fairly ad hoc merger committee that just came together, and it wasn't elected, and I put myself forward as chair of that committee, and I wasn't elected. So yeah, we've just tried to keep things going. Our main efforts really were to maintain the Sunday services in different locations, to find a way we could find a new pastor for the group of communities, which meant trying to define what that meant. And at the same time, we were being pushed to combine the bank accounts, and that was full of lots of challenges, and making a joint budget together rather than three separate ones. We were thinking about the process of interviewing. How would we interview a pastor? What would we do? How are we going to choose? How are we going to elect or appoint someone new? And at the same time, especially because this whole process was going on over quite a lot of months, from January until June. We were also thinking about, well, how are we communicating with the rest of the community? And the WhatsApp groups have started, and we've had these chat groups, and then, all of these things are quite those are the things that we were trying to manage and trying to enable everybody to continue in the things that they do, and continue to provide financial support and to receive the donations that you generously give. So, there are many events and activities that are run voluntarily by different groups of people, like Wait and the Peace Garden, the interfaith activities, and so on. So there's a huge amount of volunteerism amongst our communities. The things that we've focused on providing some money for, and it's true, it's not a lot, but we provide some support for the Northwest Families Group, a group of young, blessed families in the second generation. Sean and Jessica Greaves have been instrumental in coordinating that. And just this week, they're moving to Manchester. And so we're in the process of finding someone else that will be that coordinator and a connection point with our community. Also, Yebony and Patrick Hanna, we've begun supporting them. They live in Colchester or near Colchester, and their activities are embracing many of the second generation across the country, and particularly they are focusing, although they've been involved on a European level for many years, they are very much focusing on the British young second generation. So we're giving some support to them too. We supported the Children's Summer Camp, and we supported the airfares for people to go to Berlin as well as to Korea. And those are the things that we've been making decisions about. Also, just continue the various roles that we have in the early morning devotion on Fridays, and so we've done that. And then there was also Monday prayers and Thursday early morning devotions for the North European region now. So there's all kinds of things that just keep coming to have some support from some sort of foundation, and that's what our committee has been able to do. So there's many changes, and I just want to clarify those who have been changing roles in the last several months. So as I mentioned, Francis and Jeff, they stepped down as pastors for North London and East Anglia, the wrong order. And Peter Schroeder stepped down from being the bookkeeper in East London, although he's continued to have to manage the donations and so on. So in many ways, hasn't really lost much of a job. Philip Faggang was the chair of the East London and East Anglia community, and he also stepped down from that role. Cindy van der Stok has been valiantly doing the bookkeeping for us as the merged account and a merged community, and it's been a lot of work and a lot of give and take to sort that out. And she's going to finish that at the end of this month. And her work is being taken over by Judith Harabe. So thank you to Judith. Let's just give her a hand. So that's officially from today, and then she's got an overlap period to take over those roles. Kieran has also valiantly been coordinating the Sunday services here for many months, and he's planning to step down in October. So also let's give a hand to Kieran. Robert Turek has been part of the committee for several months, and he stepped down from the committee as well. And those who've taken up new roles, so I mentioned Kieran in both senses, he's stepping down, but also he took up that new role several months ago. So we established Sunday service coordinators for the 3 locations. So Kieran for Lancaster Gate, Raymond took that on for the Hatch End services, and Ron Chandler has recently stepped up to take on that role for the East London and East Anglia services. So they're Sunday service coordinators, and that role has been very important. A major accession, if that's the right word, is William and Ruth taking on the pastorship. So that's really just been fairly recent. And so that's a major step forward for us all. Where am I? Right. So just starting up then are 2 important roles. So one, and basically over the last few months, a lot of these things have come to me, and we haven't really had separate roles. But we need a treasurer to oversee finances, and Joanna de Souza has nobly agreed to take on that role. So welcome and thanks to Joanna. Writing notes and keeping up to date with the agenda and the minutes and so on has also often come down to me, or Raymond was a great help many times for that too. Thank you for that. But Helena Stout has offered to take up that role, so as secretary. All right. And there are plans for the Lancaster Gate Service Coordinators role to be passed on to Arian and Cindy. So welcome to that role. Cindy's still here? No. Okay. So many changes. And of course, basically we're a voluntary organization, and all things are really happening with volunteers. So there are lots of people to thank for their volunteering, but here are a few. So in the Lancaster Gate services, we particularly want to thank Taiko Wiedeke, who makes these beautiful flower arrangements. To Howard and the band, who provide wonderful music here. To Joseph Cotter, doing all this technical stuff. So many wires back there. And Naomi, who's been overseeing many aspects of refreshments together with Grant, and in the past, Reiko and the whole foundation that have done tremendous things here. So thank you, Naomi. Grant. Thank you, Grant. Also, the Sunday school has been run by Diana van der Stok, so thank you to her. And then in the Hatch End services at the Harrow Arts Centre, Kyoka and Yumi have been doing the Sunday school. Kyoka Reni and Yumi Takeda. Give them a hand where they are. Already, Kyoka was doing a Zoom Sunday school this morning, and she's very committed to it. Larissa and Judith and Monica have all worked together at different times, done tremendous amount for the refreshments and flowers at our services, so many thanks to them. Kokun Takeda took over as pastor to stand in for Jeff while Jeff was on sabbatical last year, and he continues to be many times service coordinator, worship leader, so thanks to him. And then in the East London, East Anglia services, everybody works together for it, but Tycho Endo in particular does a lot for the catering there, so give special thanks to her. So as I say, just about everybody seems to contribute their efforts, and those who haven't been named are also thanked. So let's give it up. All right. So that's the background of what we've been doing and where we are now. I want to pass over to William for comments on his aspect of the report and the vision.
So, hi everyone, again. Anyway, so those of you who were here when my inauguration, Chris, I remember I said this wasn't something I really wanted to do, and but just felt, well, someone has to do it. And as I know everybody, and felt, well, maybe God wants me to. Anyway, so I was being interviewed, as I said, by the committee and various little interview committees. They asked me, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I'll give some sermons, and I'll go and visit people. And that's it. Anyway, and I said, I'm hoping that Chris is going to carry on as the chairman of the committee, because without him, nothing would happen. And I said, we need to just I'm just a lazy person. I just want to get other people to do all these things and somehow get involved in this, and this. I don't want to take over anything. Anyway, so I thought, well, okay, this is going to be all right. So for a few months, try this out. Anyway, so I go and visit my dad. He's 95 or something. And still mentally 100% sharp. And I go and see him, and I think, he's always talking about different things he can do and I should be doing. And, he's very concerned. He's in an old people's home, and almost all the staff that are there come from the Philippines. They're lovely people, but they can't speak very good English. And my dad is bored out of his tiny mind, and most of the other residents are, got dementia anyway. So there's nobody he can have an intelligent conversation with. So he's always trying to improve their English. And so he said to me, he said, all these refugees who come here, they can get good jobs if they could learn to speak English properly. And then if, these people who work in the care home, they're well educated, but they can't speak English well. If they could speak English better, they could get a better job. Anyway, so he said, why doesn't the Unification Church do something about this? Anyway, he's been saying this to me for a couple of years now. Anyway, I just ignored him, which I'm not supposed to, but I did. Anyway, the last time I went to see him, he said the same thing. And I thought to myself, well, the Unification Church, we don't do that sort of thing. We don't help people, We just do providential things on a worldwide level. We don't actually go around getting involved and helping our local community. Something which has bothered me for decades. Anyway, so I'm driving home, and I thought, well, actually, I'm the pastor, aren't I now? And so I start, it's a 3-hour drive, and on this 3-hour drive, I started thinking about, well, I'm the pastor, and I started thinking about this region, this huge area north of the Thames, London. I thought, well, we've got one building, it's called Lancaster Gate, and we've got lots of members, and a lot of them are sort of, they can all speak English, and a lot of them middle-aged, and quite a few retired. And there's also a lot of people living here. And this building is basically unused during the day, which I've always thought was a crime. But now I'm responsible for it. And so it suddenly came to me, maybe I should do what my dad suggests. Maybe we should use Lancaster Gate to try to open some kind of facility or cafe for people, refugees, to learn English. And I thought, I'm only said I'd opt for sermons and going around visiting people and chatting to them. But God said, actually, no, there's more to it than that. And so you've got to go and do all the things that you've been complaining about for the last 30 years, about this, this, and this, and this. Now you've got the job. You've got to do something anyway. So that's one of the projects which I want to do and to initiate. I don't want to do it myself. So anyway, so I talked to Adja, so try and make it a London-wide project. Try to set up a cafe downstairs, start off one afternoon a week, and invite members of our community to come along and to have conversations with refugees. And Russell Goff, who's quite interested in outreach, is quite interested in doing this. And I realized, as I know, been director of education for many years, not much witnessing going on. Not many people want to go to workshops, and not many people joining. And hands up, who wants to go and stand on the pavement and go witnessing? Nobody, okay. Oh, one person, great. Anyway, most of us don't want to do that anymore. And so I realized, I need to put in the first rung of the ladder. Okay, I think everybody can have a conversation with a refugee to help improve their English. And when you put yourself in this situation, you just don't know what's going to happen next, what doors God will open. Having this conversation, you might start to introduce a bit of religious or spiritual vocabulary. Might start talking, the main thing if ever you meet a refugee is not to talk to them, it's to listen to them, their story, and help them to be able to put their story into good English, and just listen and listen and listen, and ask questions, and just listen, and help them to improve their English. And you never know where this might lead in terms of talking to them about their life, about their family, about the experiences they've been through, and maybe even bringing God into it at some point. And then I'm sure that, God will open the possibility here for our members, us. We don't go around doing much witnessing in reality. And God will start to feel the Holy Spirit awakening our hearts, and God, the Holy Spirit, speaking through us to these people, to help them, to listen to them, to bring compassion to them so they can feel God's grace and God's love. And then maybe even sharing a few thoughts. And, maybe we can have the odd talk. Oh, we've got a talk on upstairs. Would you like to come? And maybe, and there's lots of members living in this building, second gen. None of them are here, as far as I'm aware. But they may see the sign. Oh, I could do that. I may not like the church. I may find the services excruciatingly boring. I may think this and this and this about this, this and this and this and this and this, which I also think. But, I can do that. Because they have a conscience. And they'll think, I can go there. I can have a conversation with a refugee. There's no ulterior motive here. It's just to help them to be able to speak English. That's all it is. And it's the first rung on the ladder. And then serving other people, serving our local community, serving the many refugees who are here in this country, coming from all over the world, Afghanistan, Syria, now Ukraine, etc., etc., who want to settle here and want to work here, but one of the biggest barriers is inability to be able to speak English, on the one hand. But also, not easy to make friends with English people, is it? Those of you who come from other countries, we're not very friendly people, very reserved. Opportunity for them to start to make friends with people who are living here, and to find ways that we can help them and support them, to find work, to find this, to find that, to find others. So this is one thing which I would like to do. And I really would like to... Anyway, obviously to do this, it requires quite a lot of research in terms of how to do it, all the different regulations one might need to comply with, finding people who have experience as English language teachers, finding people who have experience knowing how to talk to and listen, especially to refugees. So we need to upskill in that sense, so we can do this kind of thing, not just do it amateurishly, but try and invest a bit in preparation so we can do that. So we can become a place that serves the local community living here in this neighborhood. That's one thing which I feel I would like to initiate. And I was talking to Russell about this. You never know if people might start joining, God forbid. You never know. Out of this kind of program. Yeah, Russell's quite interested in doing this. I said, you need to do this for 3 years. Not worth starting anything unless you're going to do it for at least 3 years. And so he said he would be happy to support with this. And so we've got to work various things out with that. The other thing is, as Chris said, we're a large community spread all over north of the river, as far east as Rowhedge, Colchester, Southend-on-Sea, which I went to recently, and Norwich, where my son lives. I can't forget Norwich, and Sipway lives, and family, and then east, I suppose we go as far as Milton Keynes, north-west. Well, that's west, yeah, Cheshire. Sorry, I got it wrong. And okay, so it's quite big. It's not possible for us all to meet together on a Sunday in the same place, travelling for hours. I don't want people to do that. I want people to get much more involved in the local community, to be honest. To join a local Church of England or Baptist or synagogue or Gurdwara or whatever your taste happens to be, wherever you feel called to go. But so I don't think it's possible to meet regularly, as a north of the river. So we'll continue to, I think we should continue to meet regularly here and Hatch End and in Romford. And we got the dates. It's the, what is it we settled on? 1st and 3rd is Hatch End.
2nd and 4th
is Lancaster Gate. And the Romford will always meet on the last Sunday of the month, which is either the 4th or the 5th. Is that right, Peter?
That's correct,
yeah. So I got it right? Good. I'm not much, very good at organising things. Okay, so that's a reality. And then, of course, people come in through Zoom. And personally, I'm not a great fan of Zoom. Although during lockdown it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to teach workshops all over the world to a much greater length and depth than I was able to do in a regular workshop with the time constraints. But I really hope that people who are online, if you can come in the flesh. We're incarnated beings. We have a physical body. We all like to have a physical hug, not just a virtual hi, but actually to be able to embrace each other. It's so nice. The first thing when a service here, then everybody goes around greeting everybody, giving them a hug, shaking their hands, and it makes a difference. You can't do that online. If you can, please come to a service either here or Romford or in Hatch End. Let's be present together as a family. Let's create something. The most important thing, of course, is this the worship service. We want to invite God to be present, worship God. I love those songs, as a deer panteth. In my heart longs for you. God is not, I can't even say it when I'm singing it. God is my friend. It just cracks me up, the idea that God is my friend, my brother, and my king. And, we want to worship. We want people to feel touched by the Holy Spirit when they come to our services, and to be uplifted, and to want to invite their friends. People will come. People will be attracted to our services when people feel the presence of God is here. And but anyway, as I said, we're still a big place. So how can we, I know a lot of people came for my Ruth and I's inauguration, and quite a few people came here from, thank you for coming all the way from Ipswich and elsewhere. I was thinking, well, how can we get to know people from other parts of our big region? So I thought one possibility is maybe to have a little, as much as I don't like them, little Zoom groups. And in the Zoom groups, maybe of half a dozen people, a couple of people from central London, a couple of people from Hatch End, a couple of people from East London, just to meet for fellowship as they want, maybe once a week or once a fortnight, just to Zoom in together, chat to each other, pray together, read a bit together, and chat to each other, and talk to each other, and get to know each other. And then when you do meet up in the flesh, then you're going to be able to meet and connect. So that's, to me, it's the only way I could imagine how to try to bring together all our region in the sense of people getting to know each other. Not in a big Zoom service where you can't actually talk to people, but just little groups. So that's an idea. there's two ways of doing this. You can either opt in or opt out. I hate opt-in. There's nobody ever opts into anything. It's better I always think it's better just to put people down. If they don't want to do it, then they can just opt out. But anyway, see how that works out. So that's an idea. So for me, those are the two things really, trying to bring together the larger region and also do some kind of practical project which everybody feels, I can get involved in that. Not everybody feels, oh, I can go and, witness the 430 people and bless 430 people. It's a big ask. Not many people think, well, I can go and liberate 430 generations of ancestors. It's a big ask. Not many people feel, well, I can go and teach the principle or do this, that, or the other. But I think most people can feel, yes, I can go and have a chat to a refugee and to, take care of this person. And as I said, who knows where these sorts of things will lead. And through this, I'm hoping, one, to help refugees, and two, to help our brothers and sisters to be able to become actively involved in the providence in this way. For me, the providence isn't watching Zoom between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. That's not where the providence is. You don't go to heaven by watching Zoom between 12 and 4 in the morning. You only go to heaven by taking care of and loving other people. And you can only do that through having a personal interaction with them, one-on-one, and giving them a hug, listening to their stories, and helping them on their way. And who knows, they may end up joining, become a spiritual child. But that's like sort of way down the end of the list, to be honest. It's about helping others. Okay, and also, as I said, I want to come and visit everybody. Been with Ruth especially. My wife takes care of our grandchildren most of the time during the week. But I've been trekking around. We've been visiting quite a few people, putting the miles on the car, which I enjoy, driving, and I love meeting people. And so I'm going to come and bother some of you and drop in and visit you. Okay, so shall I step down?
All right,
Thank
well,
you.
back to me. I didn't control everything that he said, despite the impression. I hope that we can move into a new phase now. Our merger committee just really needs to change to become something that can be a center point to support the pastor. I hope that we're not going to be carrying on meeting every week. I'm hoping we're going to go down to at least maybe once every 2 weeks or less. We're trying to set up policies that can support the activities that we've got. And I'm going to give you a financial report very soon. We're responsible for quite a large sum of money that we're caretakers of. It's been given for the purpose of the Family Federation, and as responsible for the charity in this area, then we need to be able to manage that well and use it and not just let it sit in a bank, but really do something. So but it's a very open question. So we'll get to it. 150,000 if you want to go at the bottom line. 150,000. But I'll show you some figures in a moment. And I've got it printed that I'll give you out in just a minute. Just to sort of make it clear, the kind of groupings and committees that really need to be formed so that everything can work. That's the way. I mean, most of the voluntary activities that you do, they just run because you meet with the appropriate people that need to be met with to get things going. And that's how it does. It does not need to wait on some sort of central committee, that kind of thing. So, I'm hoping that these things will just go ahead. The kind of areas that we've got at the moment are the Sunday service coordination. So we have 3 coordinators, well 4 if Arian and Cindy that'll make 4. There's the finance committee, which is obviously really important. We're going to have to find some way in which people can apply for grants or projects can ask for money, that kind of thing, and we can find ways to do that right. There's pastoral work and caring for those who are sick or experiencing bereavement or those kind of things, then yeah, a pastoral committee is another aspect. There is already a Sunday school group, but we're kind of at a point where we really need to make a new plan for the future. There's membership data, which is a lot of stuff to deal with. Managing the communications. At the moment, we've got these 2 WhatsApp groups. So AJ and I are overseeing the communications channel, which is just a one-way flow of information, which is, including sort of national and international communications. And then there's the more interactive local WhatsApp group, but now for the whole of the North of Thames. So Jeff and I are overseeing that. But that kind of area also needs some communication, some management, and potentially we could have a newsletter, once a month or something, to give ourselves an identity and to increase on the things that we're doing and feedback to help everyone know what's happening with other people. Then there's hospitality, there's music, already there's a music group here. And so all of these things are just, need to arise out of the volunteer arrangements we have. And so that the Central Committee is not there to do anything in place of those. It's in order to support and enable those kind of committees and groups to act. So I did prepare a financial report, and there are some paper copies. Yeah, would you just give out, and I think we can show it on here. So we've summarized, we've managed, because of Cindy's work, then we've got an overview of the finances since April. So before April, there were 3 different bookkeepers for the 3 different communities, and they each had their own way of reporting. And it's really important that we're very transparent about what's happening with the money. So at the very beginning, you can see top left-hand corner, we started off with £135,000. So that was the combined collections of the 3 communities. And in fact, each community contributed almost exactly the same, by whatever chance that was, about 45,000 each. And it's been put together all in one bank account now. And I think special recognition should be given to East London and East Anglia, because there are less members in that community, and yet their fund was exactly the same. So that's important to bear in mind. So for a while, in fact, the 2 other bank accounts still exist, but there's virtually no money in them. And it's all been transferred to one single, the HSBC account. So, over the months, you can see the income, the expenses. The highlights that I've made on those figures there are to indicate what the donations have been. One of the complications is, of course, donations have different categories. There are special donations which are not meant to be kept in the local account, but they're meant to be passed straight on to headquarters. And so, that sometimes artificially increases what we're holding on to. But on the average, we're receiving donations of about £4,000 a month. And overall, that's healthy, and it's perfectly sufficient to support our pastor in the extent to which we're giving support at the moment. So, and you'll see that actually on that report, the pastor's salary doesn't appear at all, and that's because headquarters has been paying it and we owe them. So out of all this money, there's quite a lot that we haven't transferred out of our account to pay for it. They've generously said that they will cover half the pastor's salary, and so for the first 3 months, we're meant to be paying £750 a month, and then from next month onwards, we'll be paying £1,500 a month. And the other, roughly about £1,500 a month, is what it costs to maintain the support for the Sunday services. That's for, across the whole of North Thames. So roughly £3,000 a month is our our basic expenditure. So if we're receiving 4,000 a month, then that's fine, and we're saving. What's the real question is, well, what are we going to do with 150,000 that we've got in the bank? And so, it is quite an open question and a big responsibility that we have. It's not our money, it's donated for the purpose of the charity. So that's really the bottom line, as you see, 153,000, which is what we have at the moment. But out of that, probably about 5,000 is owed to headquarters or paying for this or that. So if you have any questions about that, we can take that later. Kieran is going to explain about a brief survey.
So, hi everybody. Yeah, so we've heard quite a few reports on what's been going on, updates about, us talking to you about what we've been doing, but of course we want to be able to hear some feedback about how our community has been feeling over the last couple of months, as to, how the different developments have been taking place, and also just to get some ideas as well on what we can do. So as you've heard currently, that we have some plans for some ideas for activities to do to help us as a community invest into our local communities around us, and to give back to our community. But of course, there's other ways that maybe we haven't thought of yet. There's maybe other things that we haven't thought of yet, maybe improvements we can make as a North Thames community, as a council, different things that we maybe haven't caught yet. And so that's why we thought it would be quite appropriate and wise to be able to launch a survey. So from today, we will have a survey being launched, which is just yet to grab some feedback on different things and activities that have been going on over the last couple of months since the beginning of the merger. So there are questions in there from, asking about experience on Sunday service, to the community council, to even asking for thoughts and improvements on activities and ideas that we can invest into, and even idea of trying to develop an aim or vision or statement for our North Thames community. As you've seen here, at the beginning of the service, we had something at the bottom saying building home church. That was an old Central London community sort of vision, sort of statement that we held to sort of remind ourselves what we're doing and why we're here, and what we're trying to give to the community and what we're trying to build. So we thought, instead of just us as a council giving the community a statement, we thought, what ideas, what thoughts, what aims, what objectives, what points does the community feel are important and worthwhile to mention? And from that, we will try to build a vision statement that can unify as many of those points and objectives as possible, just so it's something that we can all stand by and understand, and as Uncle Chris mentioned, to give us more of an identity as well, so that we know what we're doing here and why we are investing into our communities. And we're not just coming here just to worship, have Sunday service, and then go back home and go back to normal, but we're actually part of something bigger, right? So yeah, we will launch the survey right at the end of this annual general meeting, and there are also some paper copies at the back. So we will launch the survey on the WhatsApp group, so there'll be a link to a Google Forms, and that is how you will fill out the form. So we encourage you to use the link if you can, and to fill out online. But for those that maybe feel like you'd rather fill out a hard copy, then please take a copy that is at the back. It is not a super long form. About 80% of it is like a agree, disagree sort of questions, quite just, fill in the circle from, 1 meaning disagree, 10 meaning completely agree, sort of things. It's about 80% of that, and then the other 20% are sort of, questions that we want you to expand on, so we can really glean as much as possible as to the ideas and thoughts that you have as to how we can improve our community. And of course, the survey will be anonymous, so there's no need to write your name or where you're from or what part of the community or region, because we want this to be as completely honest as possible, so that we can really gain as much information and much understanding as to how the community feels, so we can make the best decisions moving forward to be able to grow and develop our community in the best way possible. Although, of course, the hard copies, you of course still do not have to write your name or anything, but once the survey is closed and concluded, you can hand the hard copy to me, and I will remain, I'll keep your identity confidential. So of course there is still somewhat identity mentioning there, but from whoever the results or whatever points come from, I will not disclose any sort of where or who or from of the recipients for those that take the hard copy. So please feel free to take the hard copy as well if you feel that that's the way you want to answer on the form, but we encourage you to do it online because it makes it easier for me to be able to collect the results and put it together in some sort of report that I will be able to share with you in the future. So as I mentioned, the survey will be launched from today, so as soon as we end the AGM, and we'll conclude on Friday, I believe 16th of September. So this coming Friday, we'll close the survey so that I can collate the results and then be able to provide a report, hopefully before the beginning of October. So that is the plan, and we hope that you are all able to fill out the feedback/survey form as openly as possible, and we are really excited to be able to hear what different thoughts that you have. So thank you very much.
So if there is anything now, then this is a good time to publicly take some questions and answers. Marshall.
Yes, thank you, Chris and William, for your presentations. I just want, I think Chris mentioned weight in your talk as one of the activities that we as members run. Yesterday, actually, I want you to be the first to hear this. Yesterday, we had a very special event here at Lancaster Gate, in the ballroom and also in the cafe. We said thank you and goodbye to 5 of our older weight members, including Angelica Hirabe, and I think 3 were from South London and 1 from Sophia Nichols from West Country. So 5 of them have moved on to university and other things. We have a tradition to have a meal with them. I ordered pizzas, so they enjoyed pizzas and fizzy drinks and some squash. And then we heard testimonies from them, all 5 of them, their 4 or 5 years during their time in wait. So I'm going to have this published. I'm waiting to put everything together, and then maybe it can go in the newsletter. So I'll do that. But yeah, that was the good thing that happened, and it was lovely to appreciate to hear what they have benefited from their time and so on. Now, I think William mentioned about the use of Lancaster Gate. I want to share one thing, and maybe the committee can think about this. We had a quite difficulty booking the cafe and the ballroom. The system doesn't encourage you at the moment. Writing an email to Sam Davies can take time. He doesn't always respond straight away. So when we were actually going to go to Pizza Hut, but they've closed down in Queensway. So there's no more Pizza Hut, by the way, in Queensway as of Saturday, as of Friday, I think. So we decided to have it here, but I struggled to get a nay or a yay or nay from the powers that be to use the ballroom and Lancaster and the cafe. And then also when we did come, even though I worked it out with Sam and Sylvia Lal and so on, I made a lot of phone calls and so on. And then the room wasn't even opened. So that was not encouraging us to come and use Lancaster Gate. Something has to change. We had to wait outside to get Taiko to come downstairs and open up. And the kids were just hanging around. So it didn't encourage us to have our event. I have booked it again, and hopefully it'll work better on the 24th when we have a kick-off workshop to welcome new people. That's also booked here from 10 to 6. It's already booked, but I hope that it will be better welcomed this time. Yeah. So that's one thing I was going to share. The other thing about the services, thank you for breaking down where the services are each month. There is one disadvantage. I don't know if you'll realize that. We need to have, if possible, once a month or once every 6 weeks, we need to have a service where we can all be together. Because it's one thing just to have, today we were encouraged by a large group here, which is so incredible. It doesn't happen. There's usually a handful of people here on a Sunday. You know, I come here, Joanna and I come regularly every Sunday, and you know, there was very few people normally. But today was amazing because people came from other areas of our region. I wonder if we could have once a month or whatever, when we all meet together in one location, if it's possible. I don't know if that's possible or not, but that way we could actually, because I'm not a big fan of Zoom, as many people also aren't. But, you know, so just to, and in fact, next Sunday I'm giving the sermon in North London, but I'm going to drive there, which is okay, you know. But I'm wondering if we cannot meet once in a while as a joint of all the three different areas meeting together as one region, so we could, you know, have a wholesome service and so on, almost like we did today. Yeah, this is you know, an exception what's happened today. Thank you.
Okay. Gianni? Yeah, go ahead. Or maybe some feedback.
I mean, I understand the concerns about booking, but in terms of meeting, I mean, that's the sort of question you might put on the questionnaire. Yes, I mean, it's a good point, Marshall. Maybe it's the kind of question that Kieran could put on the questionnaire to see what people think about everybody meeting once a month or every 2 months or 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, so there is a question on the form asking how you're feeling about the structure of the services being how they are now, has been recently explained, with one first and second, so first and third being in Hatch End, second and fourth being Central London, and the last end of the month, be it the fourth or the fifth, being in East London. So that's an open-ended question on the form, so please feel free to expand on that however you feel, and thank you for your comments now, and your thoughts on that as well. Also, just I wanted to address the idea, the point on gaining access to the building here. That has been something that is on my mind quite recently, even for organising for Lancaster Gate. Perhaps I'm more fortunate at the moment. I do get pretty good responses from headquarters, from the office when booking, but I guess because I book regularly, so they're almost expecting it. But with regards to gaining access, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, as sometimes the code changes quite regularly and different things like this. So I am looking or intending to query about that so that we can be informed more regularly when these things take place, so that we can, as we do have regular services here, have that sort of access more clearly and quickly, so that, like even today, I was stuck outside because I didn't know the code changed, probably, I don't know, this weekend, for example. So, yeah. So anyway, so so we'd like to sort of take a look into that, so we can be on that sort of, at least someone in, doesn't have to be all of us here, but at least someone on the council can be on that email list when, I don't know, the code is changed, so that we are aware of that change, and it is put to the right places in the right way. And hopefully even for headquarters, that is great feedback, so that they can keep other people who use the building more informed when these changes take place, so that everyone can have that good quality of service in that sense as well. So yeah, thank you.
Tycho really needs to know, what the bookings are. She had no clue yesterday. She had no clue that we had booked.
Okay, I have administrative, technical, bordering on the internal stuff. Okay, 3 things. One is archive of the old media. I've been doing like photography and video here since the 1990s. That's 40 years of volunteering photography and video, right? I wonder what happens to all those videos. And people have asked me, where can I see this stuff? So recently, there's been some collections, but I think that needs to be added as an agenda item to create some kind of archive of material that, because it's not just what we do now, it's what we've done in the past. Look, there's a lot of that. Number two, so that's, I think that needs to be an agenda item to be added is, and I think, Grant, you know about a little bit about that, right? Some people know about it. The other, number two, is more technical in terms of this. We've producing online video and audio productions every weekend. So for example, our volunteer expert today, and sometimes we have several people who do this. Do you know how much it costs to produce what they've done? Have you asked? This kit to do what we've been doing is about, takes 5,000 pounds, maybe 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. So these gentlemen that are working, that's how much kit they've got in order to do it. Now we could do it with just a smartphone, but that would look not as professional. So there's some expense that should be given. So I think during my 30, 40 years of doing this, maybe every 5 years, someone offers me 200 pounds. So occasionally I get a little support to do it, but mostly it's volunteer work. We do that. So I think the technology, we need to support that. So that's another budget that needs to be suggested, is how much are we spending on the internet streaming? Because it costs money. It's not free. Okay, and that should be added, because these people spend their own kit. So I don't want to name names, but it costs money to do that.
Yeah.
And if you don't help them, it will, it's just invisible. They're invisible contributions.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick response. So on the first one, the archive, this is really a national concern, and there are efforts to create an archive foundation. So I don't want to take everything on just because we happen to be in Lancaster Gate. And there's some of the booking arrangements as well as also that. But yeah, we've got that very close connection, so we need to find a way that we can contribute our part. In terms of the recordings, yes, so we are very conscious of the costs of them. We have talked to those who've been investing their efforts, and we recognise that we've inherited the contributions of people like yourself over many years. And we've paid a little bit for some equipment in the last few months, but it's not a lot compared with what's required. Grant.
The front door. Okay, here's the story going back a few years. We never changed the code for at least 1 year. So, and when we did, everybody was generally notified, and during that period, there was a lot of traffic coming in and out of Lancaster Gate. So it was been very inconvenient for anybody trying to enter the property, if the code was changed every 3 months, let alone once a week, So, now we had it actually in 44 Lancaster Gate, a similar situation. People would enter by the code. And actually, in 44 Lancaster Gate, of course, it's all residential, but it was abused actually, and it was always very easy for somebody to come into the property who shouldn't be in the property. So what we did was we devised a new method of entering into the property. We just changed the lock and give every tenant a key. Now that situation in 44 Lancaster Gate has been totally resolved, so the tenants can come and freely go into 44 Lancaster Gate. But for 43 Lancaster Gate, though, you're not in that situation really. You're in a situation of, anybody who's part of the movement may want to come into the property, and it could be any time of the day actually. And now I came here last week, actually, and there was nobody around the property at all. And it wasn't a big deal that I couldn't get into the property anyway, because I just didn't have my book with me, so I've got the code written down. But so I think that the whole idea of, as we're in this kind of a new era where, maybe you have to look at how can you have a different method of coming into the property, and which kind of begs the question of people trying to book out their room as well. If you book out a room and you've got no idea that the code has been changed, and you have a meeting with anybody. I mean, and it's, again, it could tie in with this idea that William has for opening up the property for refugee activity, of some description, whatever that, however that develops. Then you'd want to also be able to get into the property. You can't change the code. So yeah, I think that's actually, from an external viewpoint, kind of quite important, isn't it? Really.
All right. Yeah. Is that okay?
I just mentioned one thing about the archives, by the way, which I have been intimately involved in over the many years. The film that was generated back in the 1970s, etc., had been put onto different forms of hard drive. But actually, with the instruction of Mike Malcolm, then what I did was I handed over that material to Peter Staudinger of European Office, and who will go through all the things that have been done, and this time they will put them on cloud. And the general idea is that anybody will be able to access this information, and perhaps also then the same, thing could happen with material that has been recorded here. Then you could put that on cloud, because I don't really know that much about it really myself.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Okay. We'll try to concentrate on things for the North Thames community, because it's true that many of these things are sort of mixed up with headquarters. But they're important concerns. I had a couple of points sent to me. The financial report. So it's on paper, and please don't leave these papers lying around. It will be provided on a PDF that will be on the WhatsApp, but it will be sent out to all those on the WhatsApp group. Ron Chandler sent in a question: is there any thought on having the merged Sunday service? So clearly corresponding with your suggestion, Marshall. So, and Layla has commented that she doesn't know a lot of members, so we want to get to know each other, so they're all supporting the same kind of idea. I don't want to drag this on any longer, so I think we're ready to conclude.
So thank you very much, everybody, for attending this annual general meeting. Hopefully this is first of many, and we're excited to be able to hold this. I hope you were all able to receive a lot of great information, and of course feel like we're also here to listen to you as well. So please, even outside of the feedback forms and the annual general meetings, if you have any feedback or anything you feel like you want to share or talk, please talk to our council members, to our chair, to our pastor couples. Please make sure that your voices are heard, because without you, it is harder to do things, and we want to be able to do it together, right? So thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely, beautiful, amazing day. God bless, and have a lovely week. Thank you very much.